Well, hello from Adelaide and the Adelaide Oval, where behind me the Lions have just finished off their training session. Owen Farrell out there practicing drop goals up until a minute ago with Finn Smith. The last couple of cleaning staff were in preparing the stadium. The Lions were signing autographs for their members of the staff from their sponsors a little bit earlier on. It's a beautiful, balmy winter's day here in Adelaide. Calm conditions. It's going to be a lovely place to watch a game. Ireland famously beat Argentina here in the 2003 World Cup. Was just talking to Simon Easterby about that. He played that day alongside Alan Quinlan, who scored a famous try and did a shoulder in the scoring of it. And one of the most famous moments in Irish Rugby World Cup history. One of the tensest games a lot of players who were involved in that day can remember. Probably won't be like that tomorrow, although for the players, it is a big occasion, especially those who have a real chance and one last chance of putting their hand up for test selection. The big news here is that Blair Kinghorn is a big doubt for that first test, and Jamie Osborne, the Ireland utility back who was supposed to play against Portugal this weekend, is flying out as we speak to Australia to join up with the Lions. He obviously won't play here tomorrow and is unlikely to feature in the first, second or third test, but there is a game in Melbourne that he could play in. And he'll also have an unbelievable experience coming out and training with this Lions outfit. One of the reporters here just said that Leinster now have, with Osborne's arrival, more players than any other nation. So that's a pretty significant contingent for one province to have. And the big question now is how many of those players can force their way into the starting team on the 23 for next week's first test up in Brisbane. Joe Schmidt has named the squad. And the big news from there in Brisbane is that James O'Connor, who faced the Lions all the way back in 2012, is back in the squad after Noah Lolesio has been ruled out of the series with a neck injury. O'Connor's been playing rugby in the Crusaders. He's joining Leicester Tigers next season. He was linked very briefly to Munster during the year, but an experienced international, albeit one who hasn't played for Australia in 3 years and hasn't featured under Joe Schmidt, who was likely to go Ben Donaldson as a starting out half. Two uncapped players in the squad. Largely what we expected. The big doubts are over Will Skelton and Rob Valentini, but they're both included. No doubt Joe Schmidt will be watching on as Les Casey and Foster prepare the AUNZ side that the Lions will face here tomorrow. A strong side, albeit one that's just patched together, a little bit like a Barbarians outfit. Some great players like Shannon Frizzell, Sean Stevenson, who caused the Lions all sorts of problems, Marika Corabetti. And it'll be a good test if they can pull it together. The Lions, this is the team really that struggled against the Waratahs. A lot of players with points to prove, and no one bigger than Hugo Keenan, who is the one who's best placed to avail of the opportunity that Blair Kinghorn's knee injury will open up in that first test. So if he nails his role, if he plays really well here tomorrow, Keenan is likely to start that first test. And he kind of needs to, because last week against the Waratahs, he really wasn't himself. He's been ill over here. Andy Farrell said he struggled to shift his illness in the way that some of the other players who had it did. He came in, under a cloud because he hadn't played since the Scarlets game all the way back at the start of May or June. It's been a while. He's been out for a while, carrying a bit of a knock coming into the tour. Proved his fitness, but didn't play the first couple of games. Then didn't go great against the Waratahs, having pulled out of the Reds game. So a huge opportunity for Hugo Keenan to remind everyone of his class and take his test chance. Another player, Tyke Byrne, who captains the side, he'll firmly believe he can get himself back in the test reckoning. Andrew Porter and Josh van der Fleer off the bench as well. They'll both fancy their chances of getting in there. And it's a big question of how heavily Andy Farrell leans into the Irish heavy squad and whether he goes for established cohesion or whether he mixes things up a little bit more. The Scottish centres start tomorrow. Owen Farrell on the bench, of course. Kind of expect him to come on for about half an hour. And if he plays well, probably in 12, he'll possibly be on the bench for that first test. So it's the last tour game before the test series. The Lions are looking forward to getting down to Brisbane or up to Brisbane and settling down for a week and having a proper week's preparation. But they've got one more challenge ahead. And for a lot of players, the stakes are very high.